down your red cups, clean up that puke. It is not my responsibility if your friend is throwing up my bathroom. It's up to you. Get control of your friend, goddammit, because this is not just some frat party. This is the Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select, and I am Jeff, and for the first time in the history of all of the podcasts, we have Miss Jennifer, Mayhem's Muse, the world Twitch famous, the most JRPG person that I know, a woman of many wigs. Welcome so much to the podcast, Jennifer. Hello, how are you today?
I'm a little upset. I thought this was the frat party. I brought my jersey.
Oh, damn it.
I've got my solo cup.
No.
This is the wrong party.
Yes.
Oh, awkward. I'm wearing the wrong wig for this.
Yes, we did not need that much duct tape. We here at Rage Select, we're kind of... hazing is a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing.
Damn it.
Yep.
There goes my hope for the day.
I know.
Jeez.
I know.
Gonna go sulk now.
Also, the goat was just, I mean, I appreciate it.
What goat?
But entirely unnecessary. Did you not bring that goat? Whose goat is that? All right. Well, anyway.
I actually have fraternity stories about...
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, continue. This is not that party.
Actually,
you already said it's not that party.
Okay, I feel like at some point, though, we're going to have to hear these fraternity stories
There
because
may or may not be stories.
They sound incredible. At some point, we are going to have to make up these fraternity stories.
No, they're not made up. They're
okay.
stories.
Okay, well, holy shit. Well, hey, welcome to the podcast, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm very excited about it.
You were
Hi,
very
everybody.
aggressive about wanting to be on the podcast. So much
What
so
do you mean very aggressive? You asked people for suggestions, questions for the last week podcast. So I sent you a one-line email that said, "Hey, when are you going to have Jen on the podcast already?"
Yes.
That's not aggressive.
And we read that question on the podcast
Oh,
last
did you?
week. Yeah.
I didn't even get to hear it. I was out in the desert. I missed it. But yay.
So tell me. Let's see. Everybody knows that all I do is sit around and play Bloodborne and eat Taco Bell. So I don't actually have any stories. Yeah. But you have been out in the desert doing stuff.
I have been. So I work as an actor and a model, and in my spare time, as a side idea for not having to ever have a day job, I do the Twitch casting and whatnot. But so last week, I was actually out in the desert. I work with a photography team called Azulox Photography.
Okay.
And once a year, we pack up 3 or 4 trucks and 5 to 10 people and go out into the middle of the desert in Langtree, Texas, which is in the middle of absolutely nothing. The nearest cell tower for me is an hour and a half in the other direction.
Okay.
And we spend an entire week, usually sometimes 4 to 5 days, out in this desert doing nothing but shooting everything creative on the face of the planet. No expectations, just a shot list of 1,000 different things we want to shoot.
Okay.
All the wigs and costumes and rappelling gear and things in the world that you can imagine, and we just go out there and we shoot for a week. So I just got back from that, and then 4 days into that, I had to leave a day early and head over to a cave where we were shooting one of the last days of production for the Spring VR film that I've been working on. So all of the things lately.
That sounds like a lot of outside. That
It was
sounds
great.
like way too much outside.
And I avoided completely and totally getting any kind of tan. Look at this.
Wow,
I'm still pasty. That's
also
talent.
That's amazing. 5 days in the
talent.
How much of that sounds like more cave time than desert time?
Well, okay, there was 1 day of cave time, 3 days of in the desert.
Now you can level with us here because nobody actually listens to the Rage Select podcast.
That's fine.
You're making the sequel to Fury Road, right? You're tired of waiting.
I can neither confirm nor deny that, but Charlize, call me.
Okay.
Please.
How many monster truck,
yesterday.
classic
Tom,
car,
call me.
monster truck vehicles did you wreck this weekend? Was it all of them, none of them, or a number that sits in between those two?
Most of them.
Most of them. Okay,
Most
that's
of
good.
them.
That's.
We let the makeup artist drive one at one point in time, which was hilarious.
Okay.
She just went on wheelies through the whole desert. That actually happened. In no way am I lying in any way, shape, or form. We were out there, and we've got these trucks, but it's out in the monte where there's just like these crazy inclines and cactus everywhere. So you can't always take a vehicle to get to the locations we're shooting at. So they have these gators out there, and like the big
You ride the alligator. You put
we put a harness on an alligator
directly on the alligator,
and that's how we get around.
Sure.
No,
Desert
they have
gators,
the ATVs with the big ass wheels that can get over mountains and anything. Really, we had a couple of those out there. So at one point, we loaded one of those up and go out to where we're shooting. We get there, we unload all the gear, and one of the photographers is setting everything up. And the makeup artist was like, "Can I drive the gator? Can I drive this, please?"
Which is what in reality? Is it an ATV?
Yeah, it's an ATV.
Okay.
It's like a go-kart basically, but just like big ass giant wheels on it so that it will go over mountains and boulders and craziness.
Okay.
So they got her in it, and she just takes off at full speed in this thing and proceeds to do wheelies and donuts in the middle of this desert wash for like 5 straight minutes.
Nice.
And she's the tiniest, most petite, blonde hair, blue-eyed, bubbly, vivacious girl. And you get her in this ATV, and she's going 1,000,000 miles an hour and turning such tight circles. 2 of the wheels came up off the ground at one point, and we thought that she was going to flip the thing.
That sounds amazing.
And we're like, oh God, she's going to die. This is going to happen right now, and we're watching this happen. And then all we hear is, woo! At the top of her lungs, and her little hands shoot out into this big old peace sign, and she comes back with this huge grin on her face.
Nice.
The most hilarious moment I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, that sounds actually incredible. That sounds actually
it was good stuff. I'm not complaining in any way. And there was whiskey and tequila.
Well, goddamn,
lots of alcohol. It was
so okay. So it's like a regular Friday night, except all right.
Yeah, except in the middle of the desert with no technology other than lights and running water.
Oh my God, that sounds
it's amazing.
The older I get, the more I'm just like I hate all of these screens that are sitting in front of me, except that I love them, except that I hate them.
It's a love-hate relationship. That's that's usual.
Did you speaking of Fury Road tangentially, did you watch the Oscars?
I did not. I was in said desert at the time.
Okay. I was upset. I was very upset. I don't know why I had any expectation that the Academy Awards, I mean, I don't know if you've shared this particular sentiment, but I for years have been saying the Academy Awards are full-on horse shit. Like,
sure.
They don't ever give Best Picture to the thing that I'll actually go buy the Blu-ray for.
Right.
It's always just some bullcrap. And I was so upset that they gave Mad Max Fury Road, it's like, it won 6 Oscars, and it won all of those Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, Star Wars Oscars where they can't give you a Best Actor or a Best Picture or
but they can give you every other fucking thing on the planet.
They can give you like Best Sound Design and Best Costume and Best Adapted.
Best Production.
Right.
Yeah.
Best Movie that used to have Mel Gibson in it but no longer has Mel Gibson in it because we don't like Mel Gibson anymore.
Ouch.
You know, it's very specific.
But Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Meow.
I just recently went back and watched Fury Road again, and it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. So I don't know. I haven't seen any of the other movies that won Academy Awards. There's like this one about, it was the Best Picture was about little boy scandal, the Catholic Church
I didn't see that
ensemble cast of news reporters, and there's one that was that Brie Larson was like trapped in a room for 7 years with her kid, and then she gets out. It's called like The Box or The Room or something like that. I heard about that one
and saw a trailer but didn't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at all these and I was just like, of all the movies that I saw last year, I didn't watch any of these. And yet these are, I haven't seen The Revenant yet. Have you seen that?
No, but I heard amazing things about it. Hey, and Leo finally won a thing.
I don't.
It's only been since he was like 20.
Yeah.
And he finally won one.
Yes.
Well deserved from what I hear.
I need to go see that movie. Well, speaking of movies, before we jump into the video game news, we have one other super pressing thing to talk about.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, they finally... so there was a trailer for the trailer, which is a thing that I don't really condone, but today the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie came out.
Yeah, it did.
Much
totally
to the chagrin of a lot of the internet, it seems like.
Good word. Bad internet.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
So, okay, here's the thing. I've been saying for the longest time about this movie, like, if it's a good movie, if it's a bad movie, if it's anything in between, I hate the idea that we have these days on the internet of this is going to ruin this X thing will ruin Y franchise.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure. Because
there's nothing in the world that's going to stop you from going back and watching the original Ghostbusters. I do it every 6 months just because I fucking love that movie.
It's true.
The one thing that was a little strange, I thought, at the very beginning of the trailer, they have this kind of thing where they say, like, 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved New York, and they've got all this nostalgic stuff. As this is a reboot, it's a little strange that they're so referring to the previous franchise.
Is it a total reboot? Because then why would they reference it?
That
doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly the question that I have. Apparently, it is supposed to be a full-on reboot. Like, this is supposed to be a story that takes place in a universe completely divorced from the previous Ghostbusters movies. So, yeah, it does seem a little strange that they showed the firehouse and the no-ghost symbol iconography. But everything I saw in this trailer, I mean, it just looked like a movie trailer. Like, it just seemed it not all of it was the most hilarious. But then I went back and I watched the trailer for original Ghostbusters, the one that came out back, before trailers were this awesome, and it was just that one guy talking for like 2 minutes. Who's
sure,
like,
yeah, Mr. Movie Phone.
This summer, 4 scientists. Yeah, that guy. And the original Ghostbusters trailer actually focuses a lot more on like tiny snippets of that movie that makes it look like a sci-fi action movie and not a comedy. But I don't know. I mean, this seemed all right to me. I don't know. It just
I am
seems like a
definitely
movie.
going to see it.
Yeah.
I find the trailer to be cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like that there are comedy elements of it because it's further divorcing itself from the previous generation of that franchise, which is good. You never want to just repeat the experiment. You want to find some way to make it your own.
Sure.
And I think that they're doing that. They're bringing in more of the comedy element. They're switching up the character dynamics a little bit. They're making their token nod to the pretty person be Helmsworth, Thor.
Right.
I find that to be hilarious. He's your token pretty boy. I mean, I dig it. I'm definitely going to see it. Oh, and there's wigs.
Yes.
I mean, there are wigs in the trailer. I'm happy already.
I didn't know you were so pro wig.
You have no idea. There's a reason that one of the top 5 people in my phone book is the wig mistress.
Oh my God. You've got a wig.
The wig mistress.
You've got a wig lady.
.com.
Wow.
Oh, I do.
Oh, .com.
.com. She has a master's degree in historical wig making and makeup techniques. Like, no lie.
You can go to college for wig?
Girl.
Damn.
Yes.
I had no idea that you
Wigs and makeup and costuming and all of those things are absolutely fields. I mean, why do you think that there are costume design awards for these major films?
Well,
there are people that study that and make that their craft.
Oh, I knew that, but I just didn't know that you could, with a minor in hair technologies.
It's thing.
Wow.
The hair industry is actually a very lucrative trade.
Okay. I had no idea.
Now you know. When you get tired of doing the technology stuff, you need to go back to school to become a wig mistress.
Maybe that's what I can do as a hobby from now on. Is since I'm shaving my head, it's like I've got a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I can just start making my own wigs.
You don't even need a wig cap. You just go straight up for the wig. And you're good to go.
I can have like a nice Donald Trump that I wear on the weekends when I want to skis out all of my friends.
Don't invoke the Trump. Don't do that. It's too fresh.
That's twice.
Super Tuesday is this week.
That's twice.
We don't need that.
You don't want to say his name a third time. He's going to appear and start telling us.
No more.
He's going to build a wall around my...
I will rage quit this podcast. I will pull this podcast right on over. We don't do that. But yeah, if you're ever interested, I could totally get you a lesson in wig craft from Allison Lowry.
I got the wig hookup.
You do.
Well, before we get done here, back to this trailer, the one thing that I found really strange about this, and I went and looked this up just to find this out. So this thing has been up on, this trailer has been up on YouTube for a little while, and as you can see right now, it is sitting at...
Define a little while.
I wake up late, so I don't know. But at
published
some point,
on March 3rd. So
it's today.
It's been a few hours at least.
Yeah,
we're talking about.
It's got 500,000 views. It's got 29,500 likes and 43,865 dislikes. Now,
people, please.
To put this in perspective, I decided to pull up the first trailer for the movie Pixels.
Oh, God, why?
Which has 86,000 likes. Like, normally when you look at a thing on YouTube, right, the like to dislike ratio, no matter what it is, there's always going to be a certain number of dislikes. It's only, I think, like the Rebecca Black song Friday had like a 50-50, I believe, but it takes something pretty severe on your normal YouTube scale to get past that, like just the 10 to 20% dislike thing. But Pixels, the trailer was like a I mean, I hate to be so hyperbolic about the internet, but when I watched that trailer, I was like, well, this just looks fucking terrible. And
I've never even seen the trailer. I'm not going to lie.
I ended up watching the entire movie, and it's not the worst thing that humanity has ever done. I mean, it's not, an actual war crime. It's pretty bad, though. But I find it interesting that this such obviously pandering movie that even touched on a topic, video games, where normally video game fans are very staunch about supporting or hitting the dislike button on stuff on the internet, still is sitting at like fewer dislikes overall than this Ghostbusters trailer.
Yeah, by far.
I think that people need to just like relax a little bit.
just breathe.
I mean,
it's gonna be okay. World, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay.
And also
tomorrow,
to put this
the world will keep spinning.
To put this in perspective, I mean, like, okay, we were talking about this before. Ghostbusters 2 is pretty good, but it ain't no Ghostbusters 1. And
there is only Zool.
That's right. The real Ghostbusters is a good cartoon that I watched when I was a kid.
True.
But the best thing that's ever come out of the entire Ghostbusters franchise is the original movie, at least in my opinion. So
I'm not going to fight you about it. I mean,
I don't know.
I liked it too, but the Sigourney Weaver thing, I mean, I dug it.
Yeah.
The gowns were good. Then again, I guess it's a costuming choice thing for me.
Sure.
I'm that guy. I'll be that guy. It's fine. It's fine.
You didn't think that Vigo's finery was the equivalent of
his weave?
Sigourney Weaver?
Fantastic.
I always find it so strange.
Fantastic.
I didn't know this for the longest time, but did you know that the guy that plays Vigo in Ghostbusters 2 is one of the terrorists in Die Hard?
Not surprised.
And it's very strange
He shot them simultaneously.
Yes, yes. He just under his terrorist gear, he had all of the Vigo finery.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny because now every time that I watch Die Hard, I'm like, hey, look, it's Vigo. All right, well, let's see. Let's get on to the actual video game news. So first things first, there's a Nintendo Direct this week that we're not actually going to get a chance to cover until next week because it is going on as we are recording. Yes. So, but there was a Nintendo Direct that came out right after our last podcast that was all of about 6 minutes long, where they introduced a new Pokemon Sun and Moon, which had
taken it back.
Like amazingly small amount of detail. Like
as they do.
It's going to be a new Pokemon. It's going to be on the 3DS.
You're going to wait for everything else. Mwahaha.
Yeah. I mean, they might be doing more direct. They might be having more information in the current Nintendo Direct that's going on right now. But the only two things that came out of this was that there's some kind of like translation software to hopefully let you send messages to people in other countries, like where you can send like preset word messages that'll hopefully get translated. And then apparently they're putting out the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow from the original Game Boy on the eShop. And if you download it and capture a bunch of Pokemon, you can now upload them to the Pokemon Bank.
That I had heard.
And then download them back into your new game. So
I've got friends very excited about that.
Yeah. I think that I'm just going to have to rely on our good friend Christopher Robert Cargill for this because I don't know jack shit about Pokemon.
No?
Pikachu is an electric mouse.
We don't invoke the Chew. We don't do it.
Okay.
He's on the list with the other guy.
You're going to have to. You have to give me a copy of this list.
You're going to need the list.
What's wrong with
strict guidelines?
What's wrong with the Chew, man?
I'm over him.
You're over the electric mouse?
It's like, let's take the most uninteresting Pokemon in the entire 150 original Pokemon, and let's make an entire series just about him.
Okay.
Like, really?
Who is the most?
Like, what about like Arcanine, Growlithe? I mean,
oh my God, you know the names. I don't know.
Of course I do. I played the game. That was my generation. When I was like 7 or 8 was when the first Pokemon stuff was coming out. I had cards. I traded them. Well, I didn't trade them. I just had them and hoarded them.
Yeah.
Played them a lot, beat everybody. It was cool. I never competed or anything like that because I was a Navy brat. We moved around a lot and never had the opportunity to socialize with it, but I had them. I would like set up my little decks and be like, all right, I like it. And I had the original. Let's see. I had yellow. I had red. I don't think I ever had blue. I had gold as far as the video games. And then I played some Pokemon Stadium back in the day. Yeah, so, there were so many more interesting Pokemon other than frickin' Pikachu. Like, why? Why? I never got it.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there's many more interesting plumbers than Mario, but you know.
True. I've never been really particularly a Mario fan.
Except for Luigi.
Give me Waluigi. Fuck. He's cool.
Yeah.
That purple suit and that mustache, man.
I love those guys. I love Wario and Waluigi.
And don't even get me started on Peach.
Yeah.
Don't even.
No?
I can't with the damsel in distress action. Like, geez, rescue yourself.
All right. Well, next up, let's see. This is just information.
I'm a little salty. I've been out in the desert for a week.
Yeah.
A little salty. Been hanging out with Craig Holiday too much.
Okay.
All the salt.
So, Jennifer, are you familiar with No Man's Sky?
I am not.
Okay.
Educate me.
No Man's Sky is
it's pretty.
A thing that has been kind of the talk of the internet for a little while now. a giant procedurally generated universe where you can go down to planets and explore and look at stuff and catalog stuff and name it, and then you can get into your ship and you can actually fly from that planet into space to another planet, land on that planet, do the same thing over again.
Okay.
They had a trailer that came out, I think it was like a year and a half ago, or maybe just a year ago.
Jeez.
Yep. Where this company, Hello Games, has created this algorithm where they have a central server that has created like close to an actual universe worth of planets. And so when you start, everybody's going to be playing online like on the rims of this universe, and then your goals are going to be to move forward planet by planet to try to race for the center of the universe. So
cool.
Yeah, it's been a thing that's been really interesting. I think it's captured a lot of people's attention, and they finally put out a price point and a release date, which they hadn't had up until now. So on June 21st, $60 is going to get you No Man's Sky.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things, though, that I feel like I've been saying this for a long time, that it's always great. I love to be excited about video games, but this game is such a question mark, where the trailers seem to indicate that almost the entire thing is just going to be going to places and walking around and looking at stuff and then leaving. And if that's all that it is, then that could get old pretty quickly.
It's like that truck simulator game. Some people are just like, I don't know why you would. Like, why would you? Why would you want to?
Played that game for 3 hours one weekend. It was just like, I don't understand.
I will admit that I watched somebody play that game for 3 hours on Twitch one day.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine from Australia. And yeah, Sergeant Stackus. I watched him play it. And I mean, he's interesting. Games, not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much.
But one of the other things that actually came up, this was over on, it was like Kotaku or IO9 or something like that, that said that in addition to, so I always like to say when we talk about No Man's Sky that there have been other things that have come up, and they had a story where they talked about going and seeing the game, and there actually being alien races that you run into, where you actually have to.
I would expect there to be. That'd be cool.
Well, like NPCs, like most of what we've seen so far have just been procedurally generated, like flora and fauna, and these are actually like I think there's some pictures down here of these little aliens that you can actually communicate with.
Oh, they're adorable.
Yeah, but you'll have to find these like Rosetta Stones
to learn how to communicate with them.
Yeah, and apparently you can try to communicate with them, and you could basically just guess, but you might end up like dramatically insulting them, and then they won't talk to you anymore. Or you might end up getting it right, and then they'll give you a whole bunch of good stuff. But so I think that that's great.
Interesting.
That adds a whole nother layer to it. I'm still kind of concerned, or I still really want to know more information about how apparently there's a whole thing where if you blast too many things, like these robots start showing up, kind of like a wanted system in GTA, and they'll finally chase you off the planet entirely. Like, so if you blast the robots, then more robots come, and then you get all the robots until you basically just have to run away.
I don't know.
So
I mean,
I don't know.
looking at it, it looks. What comes to my mind immediately is Myst.
Okay.
It looks like Myst, and the way that the camera's moving and the way that it's interfacing, it reminds me of Myst a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing it's not going to have as much of the puzzle element to it, but it's that traveling around, seeing what you see, interacting with what you see.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Cool.
just so far, it's just kind of a question of, like, outside of walking around and looking at stuff, what else are you doing? Are you like full on Minecrafting it? Are you building bases? Are you just, because if it's just walking around looking at pretty things, again, as I've said a million times on this podcast, that could get old pretty quickly. Like, there's some,
I guess it really depends on your player style. I mean, not everybody wants to rule the world and take over the world. Okay. Surprising. I know. Surprising. Yeah. But I mean, it's
that's
like
not what that Tears for Fears song said. It was actually exactly the opposite of what you're just saying.
True.
So,
you're right.
My entire life philosophy is based on Tears for Fears.
Oh.
So
Well, let me just burst that bubble real quick. I mean, you could Captain Picard it and just like, we're going to be on the spaceship exploring unknown territories and just seeing things.
Yeah. But every so often, you got to have, a sadistic mudslick that kills off your weapons officer. Like, it's got to happen from time to time.
I mean, maybe sometimes you just want to chill and explore stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, in any case, we'll get a chance to find out on June 21st.
Which side are you on? Exploration or conquering?
Yeah. I'm definitely pro conquer.
Really? I had no idea about that.
Yeah. Bad fur day mostly. But
whoa.
The other thing that I think is a little strange here, though, is that like $60 seems like a bit much for this particular type of game in a lot of ways. We just got done playing Superhot, and obviously this is going to have more gameplay than Superhot did, but People expect a lot these days for $60 if you have a full-on $60 release.
But it seems to me like $60 is pretty par for the course right now with, I mean, at least PlayStation 4 games. Like looking at all of the new games that are out right now, they're between $50 and $60.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems to be just the standard right now.
I don't know. I'm just really leery about this.
What would be cool, I think, would be if this game were VR.
Oh, yes.
Because that would be cool. That's a whole different level of involvement in it, and then it's a worthwhile experience to just be strictly exploring.
Absolutely. That would make those are the magic words that would make this whole thing just
that's cool.
Yeah, it would actually be a great kind of advertisement for VR, because it would just be like, hey, look at all this stuff. You don't have to
look at every freaking thing on the planet.
Yeah,
just
you don't have to play, you don't have to, keep up with a million different bullets coming in your direction. You could just walk around and be like, ooh. Well, I tell you what, speaking of the whole conquer part of the explore/conquer thing, there's a rumor that came out this week where a retailer listed Battlefield 5 with a description that it was going to be a World War I game.
Okay.
Which is interesting because we don't have any real information about Battlefield 5 yet. And World War I is a conflict that gets largely
looked over.
Yeah.
How about World War II?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many World War II games. I got burned out of
many
World War II games like 10 years ago. But
so that'll be nice. They're taking it back a little bit.
Yeah, and after actually listening to a bunch of the history podcasts that I like to listen to, World War I seems like it could be truly horrifying. Like if you get caught in the mud in no man's land and then drown slowly.
World War I was brutal.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, when they think of World War I, get images of just people in foxholes not doing anything, gas attacks and stuff like that. But there's so much, there's actually a lot of push and pull.
Yeah.
It could actually even be the sort of thing where the rate of kind of like death and respawn could be way faster, depending on, because you look at some of the conflicts in World War I and the way that you just had these people that were just crashing up against, withering
dead
fire.
Bodies everywhere.
Yes.
Just everywhere.
Yes. So, I think that it could be really interesting. And I think that I'm glad that Battlefield is doing something besides modern or World War II. I really kind of wish they would make another Battlefield Vietnam, because Battlefield Vietnam was really fun.
Oh, God.
Well,
Vietnam. Talk about brutal. Jeez.
Yeah. Are you at all a fan of the Battlefield franchise? Have you ever played any of them?
I've not played them, but then again, I am barely now catching up to modern games. I had been stuck in the PS2 generation for a long time and have only purchased a PlayStation 4 within the last 2 months.
Okay.
So I'm slowly catching up. The closest I have to a game like this in my catalog right now is Metal Gear Phantom Pain, which I just picked up a couple weeks ago and I've not yet started.
Okay.
I'm I don't know, like 10 hours or so into Borderlands 2, and I think that Phantom Pain is probably going to be the one I play next after that. So I'm catching up, but give me a while.
Okay. I'd actually be really interested to know what people in the comments think of this, because World War I is just, I'm trying to think right now of World War I action games, and there's just very few of them. It's almost like, why
my dad would
anything?
know. I should ask my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was in the military for 22 years. He worked on nuclear submarines for the Navy, and war games were his bread and butter. Particularly, he likes the Civil War. Like he's got trading cards and so many books on the Civil War. So that would be his area of expertise.
It's amazing how much like my own father or your father sounds like.
Our fathers should be besties and hang out and braid each other's hair.
Yeah, we could get them on Facebook. They can be friends on Facebook.
That would happen. Well, my dad's doing I think he's doing a theology tour right now. He just got his doctorate in philosophy.
Oh, wow.
And so he's leading some talks and rewriting his dissertation and all sorts of awesome stuff. Dr. Larson.
Wow.
Very first in our family.
My dad is currently making cable access videos about beer.
About the beer. My dad does not drink.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they can be friends anymore. I don't know. That might...
They're breaking up. They're breaking up.
This is the shortest dad.
He plays a mean game of Catan, though.
Okay.
He taught me how to play Catan.
Well, speaking not at all about Settlers of Catan, so Battlefront, there's an announcement that in Star Wars Battlefront, they've announced the next 2 heroes that are going to be added into the game.
Awesome.
And strangely, almost inexplicably, it's Greedo and Nien Nub.
All right, then.
Which, considering that the first round of heroes were Luke, Han, and Leia, Boba Fett, Darth Vader, and Emperor Palpatine, it's like, what about Lando? Or, Chewbacca? Or Grand Moff Tarkin? Or, I don't know, anybody.
That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I don't know.
People like Greedo. I mean, I guess.
Oh, we named a horse after him. So, yeah.
Did you?
But
adorable.
It's just kind of strange considering that, I don't know, it's just Nien Nub. I mean, I know about who that is because I'm a big old Star Wars nerd, right? But I don't know. It feels like, really?
I've never heard anybody in the, who's your favorite Star Wars character? I've never heard his name come up, like, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean, I have a friend who is obsessed with him as a character, so I had to hear about it all the time.
Oh.
Especially when I was working on one of the Star Wars video games. Yeah, but still, it just seems like a really strange choice. Like these 2 weirdos. Anyway, I'd be interested to know who other people would like to see besides these 2.
Give me Windu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be original trilogy people because they've specifically stated that they can't put in anybody from the new movie or from
original
the prequels.
Trilogy. I mean, give me an Ewok, please.
Sure. Just one Ewok.
Just one. He'll rule the world.
Scuttling around.
Yeah, and he'll be like the rogue of the group. Like he'll come in and just fuck shit up.
It'll just be at waist level, no gun, just waddling around, stabbing people in the butt.
Stabbing things, pulling wires out of walls, and
I
just blowing shit up. Yeah. I'd get behind that.
Well, speaking of pulling, my segues are terrible today. Fuck it. The Division is coming out next week, and the only trailer that we have to really go over this week is the Division launch trailer, which has finally sort of answered another one of my big questions about a video game, which is, who exactly are you shooting in the face in the Division? And
everyone.
The answer appears to be criminals.
Street thugs. Yeah, street thugs.
Yeah, that have... But it seems weird because we played the beta for the Division, and these street thugs have apparently all gotten their hands on automatic weapons.
Militarized, yeah.
And have taken over large swaths of this post-apocalyptic. It was like Brooklyn or Long Island or something like that.
I think it's Brooklyn.
Manhattan.
Maybe.
It's in Manhattan. Was it Brooklyn? Anyway, I don't know. Which seems a little bizarre because also the whole point of the Division I thought was supposed to be that your characters are these secret disaster operatives that have been trained in secret, and when this apocalypse comes and the military can't get in and the police are all gone and the criminals are ruling, that your organization is supposed to kind of spring into action and start retaking the city one block at a time from these militarized gangs. Are they the mafia or
could be
street gangs? I don't know. It's still
Timmy down on the corner. Skateboards.
I don't know. Do you know? I mean, do you know
angry skateboarders?
Yes, just angry teenage skateboarders.
Oh God, the nightmare.
Have you seen the? Do you know the general premise to the Division is that on Black Friday there's some kind of virus transferred via money that basically wipes out most of the population, and they have to close off the island and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Why is it that everybody always has the story of, we got to close off Manhattan, can't get in there now?
I don't know.
Why?
Yeah.
Everybody. They did that with Godzilla. It's been done.
I think the most interesting thing about that particular conceit, though, is that means that everywhere that is not Manhattan is fine, right? So, in Dallas, people are just getting ready for Christmas. Their family's coming into town. They're just doing their thing. In Manhattan, militarized thugs rule the streets, and only the citizen police force of the Division can take back this one place. Meanwhile, in Washington State, we're all just having a good time.
We're just climbing Mount Rainier and eating our Rainier cherries.
Yep,
fine.
Yep. In Florida, it's just gator riding and just meth all day long. It's just the same thing.
Meth all day. All right, then.
Yeah. Which it almost, I don't know. It's still, we're going to find out next Tuesday because the Division comes out next Tuesday. And this trailer was incredible.
It was beautifully done.
I feel like the trailer also just doesn't, doesn't tell people as much about the game as they may need to know because it's an MMO, basically. It's a third-person shooter MMO, and when you look at that trailer, it looks like just a third-person action game, like a single-player action game that you would get to play. But we will find out. And then as a quick sub-note, as a word to the wise, like that trailer at the end had all of this like great praise from critics, like amazing, excited, the greatest kebab I've had in years, says Game Informer. But apparently they're not, they might be sending out review copies to critics, but they're not turning on the servers until the day of launch because they don't want, and I think there's embargoes about reviews that you're not going to have any reviews the day that the game comes out.
Interesting.
Because Ubisoft has said that they don't want critics making judgments based on servers that are supposed to be populated with like thousands of people that have a couple hundred critics all playing at the same time.
I see. That makes sense.
So, like,
it's unique and bold, and I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. At first, I looked at the story and I thought, this is what always happens when Hollywood is like, well, we're not having a critics screening because this isn't a movie for critics. Always usually means it's terrible, and so you just don't want reviews to come out early on saying it's terrible.
So people won't buy it.
Yeah, but I would recommend to anybody considering The Division to just wait like a week and see what people have to say about it instead of going out and buying it the day that it comes out. I know it's hard. I know it's really difficult to not go out and buy the brand new shiny thing the first day it comes out, but we will have a dojo up next Wednesday and Thursday for The Division, and the beta seemed all right. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm preemptively calling the game garbage, but I just hate it when people go out and get a thing and get burned day one just because, you know, there wasn't enough information out there.
I watched White Fox Black Fox on Twitch. She had the beta and she played through it, and she seemed to enjoy it. Her and her crew all played through it, and they seem to enjoy it. So there's hope for it yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, I don't want to come down like it's just like it's doomed. I really liked what I ended up playing of the beta, and I ended up playing it for a few hours after we got finished streaming it. But this is such a weird proposition that
sure.
I feel like it would be a great thing if you're a person who isn't entirely sure about whether they want to plop down $60 to just, you know,
wait it out.
Give it 5 days and see
Give it a
what
minute,
happens.
Sleep on it, come back.
Yep.
Yeah. Sounds legit. Watch your friends play it on Twitch.
Yeah, damn right.
It'll happen.
I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Twitch playing it.
Oh, yeah. That's all
week.
Anybody played the week of the beta, which was what, like 2 weeks ago, something like that? Yeah, that's all anybody was playing.
2 or 3 weeks ago. All right. Well, now I'd like to come to the part of the news that I like to refer to as things have been delayed.
No.
And
I rage quit.
The first thing that has been delayed from this year to next year is unfortunately Mass Effect Andromeda.
Pardon me, I'm going to throw my microphone across the room
I
real
didn't
quick.
know you had such strong feelings about Mass Effect.
I do.
Okay.
Very strong feelings. I need it in my life, and I don't have a PS3, and I can't play it.
Yep. So apparently, they said that they've moved it to their Q4 of this year, which means that it's going to be sometime in the first 3 months of 2017. Which
BioWare, you're failing me.
Yeah, I pinned this more on EA than BioWare because they went out and they said, well, you know, we've got a new Battlefield coming out, so we can't have both Battlefield and Mass Effect coming out in the same quarter.
I don't care about Battlefield. I want to play Mass Effect.
Well, but Jennifer, come on. There's also a new Titanfall coming out.
I don't care about that. I want to play Mass Effect.
Yes, I know. We all only care about Mass Effect. I mean, I know Jason Murphy cares about Battlefield, and other people care about Titanfall. But yes, we care most about Mass Effect, so it's kind of a bummer.
They have to redeem themselves from the last one, is all I'm saying.
Well,
an ending, specifically the ending of the last one.
You know,
that's all I'm going to say about that.
I had such strong feelings about that, but I this is in no way, shape, or form a full redemption. But after you get all of the DLC added in, it kind of works.
All right.
Like it didn't at the beginning, but there's especially this one DLC that you get where you basically just have a giant house party with the entire Mass Effect crew, which
just made me feel better about it.
Serves as a good send off to the end of the game because you get to have this little like nostalgia bump. Plus, there's a second DLC that actually foreshadows what's going to happen at the end of the game, and then they reworked a bunch of the dialogue so that it's not as garbagey. Anyway,
fair enough.
Still, I understand. When I got done with Mass Effect 3, I was like, do what now?
Feelings.
Yeah, but I would settle at this point. I understand. I mean, there's a part of me that really likes this because Q4 / January, February, March is in a lot of ways a complete shitstorm wasteland when it comes to video games.
Well, not next year.
So it's nice to have some stuff coming out.
So many things are coming out next January.
Yep.
So freaking Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Are they all coming out?
They're all coming out at the beginning of 2017.
Is that wait?
I think. I know that Final Fantasy is for surezies. Like, give me 2 seconds and I can pull that up because I've already got it on my Amazon wish list.
Okay. Well, now, see, are you sure that Amazon? Because a lot of times
it'll come out like a week later on Amazon pre-order than it does.
Well, no, I'm saying. I mean, a lot of times I feel like Amazon, they just project a date if they don't have one, and then that will get edited as the actual date gets put out there, right?
That's good to know. I'm newer to Amazon shopping. I have just started to put together a wish list and things for like my stream.
Right.
So I'm learning. I'm slowly catching up.
Okay. Because I don't know if there's actually been a full-on release date for those yet. I mean, I know that Square is usually really cagey about that. I would think that it's probably going to be a little bit later than that. Anyway, though, as you look that up.
Sad. Now I'm more sad. I'm 0 for 2 today.
The Rage Select Podcast, bumming you out all day. Well,
I need a hug.
Don't get off the bum out train just yet, because guess what else has been delayed? Uncharted 4 was going to be coming out in April 26th, but this is okay. It's just 2 weeks. It's May.
That's fine. I guess.
May 10th now. So, which I'm actually very happy about because Dark Souls 3 comes out in April, and I just kind of want to play that for the entirety of April. So
that makes sense. I mean, that's fine. That's understandable.
But yeah, it's been pushed back a little bit. Apparently, the game is kind of already completed. I don't know if they're just doing bug fixes or whatnot.
They just want to dangle it in front of us for a little while longer, so we just like do the little dance about it.
Yep. I don't know.
Rude.
I really. You said you have the Nathan Drake collection. Have you played it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm Borderlandsing it up first, and then that's on my next list. I might start it since Borderlands is so long. I might start like simultaneously playing them through. I've started doing this thing where I let my Twitch followers, my Mayhemians, kind of help me decide what to play on any given day. I like letting them play letting them see me play what they want to see at the time.
Sure.
So they've actually wanted me to play more like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy than they have the newer games that I've purchased.
Okay.
So I've been going back a little bit. Like I'm replaying Kingdom Hearts right now. They even have me put away Kingdom Hearts 2. I rage quit that the other day and went back to Kingdom Hearts 1. The repetitive storyline, man. I've not gotten all the way through the game yet. I'm on my first solid playthrough, and I'm at Port Royal right now. And it's just this, let's just regurgitate the entire storyline of the actual movies.
Is
and
that
make you play through it. I'm like, I'm bored. I want something new and original. I don't just want to play through the movie. Or I would just buy like the movie video game. Like I don't need that.
Is that is that still in the Roxas part before you actually?
No. I'm like well into Sora has been whatevered and he's back and you're going through the individual Disney worlds, but in each world so far in the game, and I think I'm less than halfway through the game at this point, but every world that I'm coming to, it's just a regurgitation of the storyline from the movie, and I'm finding that very boring and very tedious. So I'm playing Kingdom Hearts again.
What movie?
So you go.
From the Disney
Have
movie.
you played the Kingdom Hearts games?
I played the first one a long time ago. I never really got that far.
So you have the gummy ship that you travel around in, and you go from world to world.
Right.
Each world is a different Disney kingdom, basically.
Right.
So you have like Beast's Mansion, and you have like Halloween Town and all that.
Right.
So in Kingdom Hearts 2, it's that same dynamic. After you get through the beginning few chapters, you get out into the world again in the gummy ship and you can travel around. And each kingdom you go to, when you arrive, it's like you're stepping right into the storyline from one of the movies.
Right.
Like exactly into the storyline. So I'm in Port Royal right now, and it's like the Black Pearl storyline where you come in and then here's the pirates and they're looking for Elizabeth and they want the coin and you have to go rescue the coin and you have to rescue her, and Will Turner and her have their romance, and I'm bored.
Okay.
I'm just very bored.
It's because it's just the story from the movie.
It's just the story from the movie with
but
Sora
isn't that,
in there.
Aren't they all like that?
Not all the way. There were new elements to them and new...
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the right mindset to play this right now. So
Okay.
I've been playing a lot of Borderlands, and Kingdom Hearts, the first one, is not that tedious in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out soon.
I can say, I can tell you right now that's what they do. Right now we're looking at this on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's what they do when a company is like, it's going to be released in 2016 but hasn't nailed down a date yet, is they'll just put it at the last day at this point in 2016.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, it'll probably get moved out as they move it out more. All right. Well, next up, we have some console news. First up, some Xbox stuff. I didn't get a chance to watch all of this. Phil Spencer apparently did a little bit of talking at, I think it was like GDC last week. And there's this one really crazy thing where he talks about upgrading the Xbox One, about modular upgrades to the Xbox One.
Oh, yeah?
Let's see if I can see a quote here. Yeah. Will actually see us come out with new hardware capability during a generation and allowing the same games to run backward and forward compatible because we have the Universal Windows application running on top of the Universal Windows platform that allows us to focus on hardware innovation without invalidating games that run on that platform. So I think that what this means is that Microsoft is actually going to upgrade the hardware that's inside of the Xbox One to a new revision. Or, I mean, I doubt that they're going to have they might have like an external add-on that you could buy that would up, like, say, the processing power of the Xbox One. And then by using the Windows framework, it'll be like, if you have the new Xbox, this game looks better because they're able to up the settings because the new Xbox has better hardware. And if you're playing it on this Xbox One, then it'll look a little bit crappier because it's not as good as the new one.
Sure.
Which seems like the exact opposite of the reason that people buy consoles in the first place instead of PCs, because, you know, you do the PC master race, upgrading, getting a new video card, shoving in more RAM, all that stuff.
Sure.
Whereas if you bought an Xbox 360, you could be assured that everything was going to look the same on every Xbox 360 from the first one to the last one.
Right.
So asking people to go through an upgrade path on a console, to me, just seems really like a strange idea, whether it's...
Yeah, that's definitely an unexplored territory. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't like it. I mean, because I think that one of the big reasons to get a console and not a PC is because you can buy a PlayStation 3, and from the beginning of that PlayStation 3 until the end of that PlayStation 3, everything looks the same on every PlayStation 3. Now, I know that Nintendo's already kind of gone that route, where the new 3DS has a different set of hardware in it that actually runs better. There's actually games that will only run on the new 3DS, or I think like the new Hyrule Warriors will only run in 3D on the new 3DS, and on the previous 3DSs it will only run in 2D. But I think that it just is it's just a weird choice. Like,
can I go on a little bit of rant on that subject?
Rant away.
As I've said, I have just finally stepped into the modern world of gaming technology. I now have a PS4. Yay. I went through this process because I'm a very careful buyer. I've always been very frugal with my money, especially on entertainment-based things. Like, this is the first console I've ever purchased.
Right.
All of my other consoles were like given to me, loaned from me, passed down to me, whatever.
Yeah.
So when I had the money from some Twitch patrons to purchase a new console, because they were like, just get the console already, do it.
Stop talking about it
and do it. So I got the donations, and I was like, all right, I got the money, I'm gonna go do it. And I was ready to buy the PS4 the next day. Mm-hmm. And I went online and I was talking about I think it was on Twitter, talking about the games I wanted to play. And a few of the games that I was listing were PlayStation 3 games. Mm-hmm. I had not realized that they weren't backwards compatible. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, totally and completely ruined the experience.
Yeah.
Like, for a whole day after that, I didn't go out and buy it the next day. Mm-hmm. I spent the next week going home and rethinking my life, because I was like, why the fuck am I going to go buy a console and not be able to play any of these older games? I'm still going to have my PS2 around. It's just going to take up more space.
Yep.
The only things I can play on it are the PS4 games, and there aren't enough of those out right now that I even want to play. Like, the reason I was going to get it was for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Only game I had any care to play that was modern was Final Fantasy VII Remake. Give it to me now, please. I can't sleep without it. Please. So
I like the idea of you just laying in bed with the trailer
just,
on repeat
about it.
Yeah.
Just like crying in my soup because of the longing for this game. So I went and was just like, why is this a thing?
Yep.
So finally I'm doing more research because some of my friends that had donated towards the PlayStation were like, oh, well, there's talk now that they're about to come out with all these upgrades that will allow it to be backwards compatible. Kind of. Maybe. A little bit. Eventually, we think. And I was like, wait, what is that even? What even? So I went and did my research, and it's like, well, we might be able to allow you to download versions of them that you can emulate on the PS4 that are going to crud up your console with all of this stuff on it. And just so I've been having this really serious come to Jesus moment talk in my head with these companies that are just, they're not able to, I don't know if they're just out of touch with what we want as gamers, or if I'm just completely and totally irrelevant in the gaming scene, in that I want to be able to continue playing the older games that I love and trust, and I want to play the new games too.
Yeah.
And I want there not to be this gap between them. I want them to be cohesive.
You want one black plastic box that you could put
my shit in and play it.
If it has a PlayStation logo, you want to be able to put it in there and play it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about this Xbox business too. So it's like, if you're not going to make it easy and user-friendly for us to do all of the gaming we want to do, why don't you just call it a day and call it a different fucking console and have done with it?
Yeah.
Seriously.
I think that, okay, so, well, one of the things, I mean, I always give props where props are due. The Xbox One has been playing that hard. The Xbox One has actually been integrating a lot of Xbox 360 backwards compatibility.
Right.
And like almost every game.
They're trying to catch up.
Yeah. Well, they are able to do it because they can basically let you download a whole copy of it and go. So as just a brief history, which I've gone into before, the reason that this doesn't work on the PlayStation side is because of the way that those consoles were built. Like the PS4, I'm gesticulating for those of you who are not in the room.
He's gesticulating very seriously.
The PlayStation 4 is just a PC in a box. That's all that it is.
Yep.
The PS3 had this crazy ass architecture, the cell processor where they had 5 cores that were all supposed to run different instructions in tandem so that you could have like one that was devoted to AI and one that was devoted to like audio rendering. And the problem is that it just doesn't emulate well because you have to basically set up this weird 5-core system. You have to have a processor that is able to essentially divide itself into fifths and then run in this really awkward way that it's not supposed to run.
Right.
And like the PlayStation 3, I had one of the original PlayStation 3s that was PlayStation 2 compatible. And people point to that a lot of times. But the only reason that happened was because they took the hardware that ran PlayStation 2 games and just put it in the PS3, right? Yeah. The only reason it came down in price was because they finally took that shit out. And then even the PlayStation 2 had, I believe it was called the Emotion Chip or something like that, from the PlayStation 1 as part of its like video playing software. So it was able to do backwards compatibility as well. Like it's so much easier on something like the PC, where the PC has been a PC architecture from beginning to end, whereas
and it just works.
The consoles have been switching architectures for so long that like it just doesn't work. And I agree, because I still pull my PlayStation 3 out to play Demon's Souls when I feel bad or drunk.
Like,
or
I want to
whatever.
play Mass Effect.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
to go back to the Mass Effect rant, I want to play Mass Effect, and I can't. I have a PS2.
Yep.
I have a PS4.
Yep.
And I have an SNES retro console, and that's all I have. And I can't play Mass Effect, and they don't even have an emulator or a downloadable anything. I can't play it.
I felt like they were going to put out another one of those like HD things. I mean, that's one of the nice things. I mean, as somebody who's already played a lot of those games, sometimes I'm really sick of hearing stories about like, oh, guess what? Here's the newest thing that we're putting out in HD. Like, I believe I skipped a story this week where they said that they're putting out Dead Island 1 and Dead Island Riptide as an HD version for the PS4 and the Xbox One. But in a lot of ways, you know, it's good for people who haven't had a chance to play those games before. Anyway, though, if it was possible, like, I think I've played PlayStation Now a little bit, and it's like,
It's really not.
It's
not worth it.
It's not great. It's not super good. Like
Nope.
it's okay for RPGs. It's kind of crappy for action games because there's a little bit of a lag and it's just kind of weird and it looks like a Netflix video that's buffering the wrong way.
I don't.
Anyway,
I'm underwhelmed.
on the opposite,
really
I mean, well, here's
underwhelmed.
okay. Well, then here's a good hypothetical situation that brings us back to the story, right?
Sure.
Let's say that Sony put out $100 box that you could buy that would make your PS4 fully PS3 backwards compatible. Like if they put that cell processing emulation into a box and said, this is a big black USB box, you're going to plug it into the back of your PS4, you're going to be able to play any PS3 game you want, would you pay another $100 to get that compatibility?
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to play those games. I would really like there to be one console that just plays all of my shit. That's what I want.
Before
But
the
I mean,
comments
as
can
of
point
now,
this out to you, that's
I would
called
do it
a
this
PC.
way. I would do it this way. I can't PC game. I
Yep.
just can't. There's too many buttons.
Yeah.
I like the controller in my hand. I can't. So I would put it on my Amazon wish list. I wouldn't spend my money on it.
Yeah.
But if people wanted me to play them bad enough, I would take it. I would play it.
Okay. Fair enough.
I guess.
I'm really
Begrudgingly.
curious to know what this means. I mean, I honestly think that what this means is that they're just going to put out new Xbox onesies that
Onesies.
are better because right now the PS4 does have a little bit of an edge as far as hardware goes.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if around the holiday, if there's a hardware refresh where they make a new Xbox One that's a little bit cheaper and has a little bit more hardware in it to try to eke out. Because I've started skipping them, but to date, last time I checked, PlayStation is still whooping the Xbox One's ass. Like they're just constantly outselling the Xbox One. And so, and I've also been on the podcast many times before of saying, I really hope that the Xbox does do this. I hope they lower their price by $50 and put out a version that looks better than the PS4.
What are they at right now? Are they is it $399?
I think it's $350.
PlayStation is $349.
I think that Microsoft fully lowered their price to $350.
Did they?
And I think that you can still find some PlayStations on sale for $350, but let's see.
And
Xbox,
over the holidays, they were doing the $299 with some games and crud.
Let's see. Here's
packages
Xbox
for the
One,
PlayStation
500
4.
gigabyte console.
Oh, wow.
$349 is what the actual Amazon listed price is, and then let's see what the PlayStation 4 looks like. I mean, I'm sure that there's
Last I saw it was $349.
PlayStation 4. This is $349.
Yeah.
So they're both at $350 right now.
They've lowered it. All right.
Yeah. Now, speaking of prices and lots of money, do you know what the Microsoft HoloLens is? Have you seen that?
HoloLens. No,
Yeah.
I have not.
Okay, so the HoloLens is this thing.
Oh, it's the VR tech.
Sort of. This one is actually not VR. It's actually a clear visor that projects things in the room with you. So it's almost like augmented reality more than virtual reality.
Okay.
So like imagine putting a thing on and being able to look at the wall and using like they're using a Kinect interface on the front to see your hand to be able to like, I'm just going to put Netflix over on that wall and then I can just sit here and watch Netflix. And then as you move your head, it's got a tracking thing that will keep that window wherever you've put it in virtual space.
Interesting.
So they finally came out and announced that they're going to be doing a dev kit for this. And unlike a lot of the previous things, this dev kit is going to be $3,000.
Damn. I wouldn't pay that.
Compared to now, of course, that is a developer kit. So I'm sure that what they're trying to do there is get developers to buy this and try to develop for it. In perspective, you know, the DK2, the Oculus Development Kit 2, was $350. I have a feeling that at $3,000 per, I don't think they would retail this. I mean, I think it's probably going to be like $1,000 to retail, maybe $1,500. Like, I just, you know, this is so like the fourth letdown I've had with VR and AR because, you know, $600 for the Oculus, $800 for the Vive. $3,000 for the dev kit for this. I'm sure that the Sony one is probably going to be in the $800 or $900 range, almost certainly. So I don't know. This seems like an awful lot. The HoloLens seems like a really interesting technology, but if Microsoft can't make it at least somewhat affordable, the whole reason that people are talking about VR now is because the Oculus dev kits were cheap enough that consumers could buy them and then show them to their friends and have a podcast where they never shut up about them.
Yeah, I was actually at the DMV a couple weeks back, and the guy helping me at the counter, the girl next to him, because he was asking me what I was doing out in the desert, and I was like, I'm working on this VR film, blah, blah, blah. And the girl next to him was like, yeah, I've got one of these headsets at home. I'll bring it tomorrow and I'll show you. And I was like, wow, this is everywhere now. All right. It's at the DMV, folks.
The new, what do they call it? I've got one of the Samsung Galaxy, the new Galaxy phone. I was just seeing that if you pre-order it, they'll send you God, what the hell do they call that thing? It's the It's the Oculus developed thing. It basically, you put your phone into it, and then it's a headset, and then you can put it on, and you can do stuff on your phone, and the phone just sits inside of the headset. So, because all of the VR screens are just phones anyway, so the new phone, it's like you just slide it into this custom-made headset with a little wraparound thing, and you can just play VR games with your phone right there. So,
interesting.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Now, that's all the Xbox One news we've got, but on the PlayStation side, apparently...
What you got?
The 3.5 update is in beta right now for the PS4 that is going to expand that streaming service on the PS4 to PCs and Macs as well. So just like people were able to, because I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can stream over a network your PS4 to a PSP or
that guy.
A Vita
right.
like
I did hear about that.
PS TV. Apparently now there's going to be an application that lets you do it to your PC as well.
Interesting.
Seems a little bizarre. Seems like it could make it really easy to do, a lot easier to do streaming if you wanted to stream with a PC app instead of the app that's actually on the PlayStation.
So it's basically circumventing the need for a capture card?
It could be used in that respect. I'm actually a little bit nebulous about why you would ever do this. Because if your PC is on the same network as your PS4, you can basically play... You know what? Never mind. This is stupid Jeff, who forgets that other people have setups in their house that are different than the one that I have here.
Right.
So as long as your PlayStation 4 is on the same network as your PC, you can just stream the game directly to your PC monitor instead of a TV or somewhere else. So you could use it to stream.
If you have a capture card, right? Because I mean, I stream and I have a laptop set up, and I have a capture card that pipes the PlayStation feed from the PlayStation to my computer. You're talking about you have a way to circumvent the need for the capture card altogether?
Yes, this is not that. This would be this basically is like the same way that PlayStation Now works over the internet.
Yeah,
is the way that this works over your local network. So you are playing your PlayStation 4, and then the output from the video output from your PlayStation 4 is basically going over the network like Netflix to another screen. So
are you able then to interface that with something like OBS?
You probably could. You could probably do screen capture. I mean, I know there are a few different things that you can use to just capture whatever's on your screen and stream it. Mm-hmm. You could probably use any of that stuff. So
I could see that.
Yeah, I think it sounds interesting. There's also some new stuff. Is that something
that's just going to come, like they're just going to upload it and then it's a thing? Mm-hmm. Or is that something you're going to have to pay extra for a service?
Nope. It's just an update to the operating system.
Well, how about that?
Yep. Also, apparently, players will be able to appear offline, see when their friends sign on, schedule play dates with friends, and stream to Daily Motion.
We could be friends.
Yep.
Hang out and be friends.
My PlayStation 4 friends list is so full.
Well, fine. Maybe I can't be your friend then. Fine. I'm not cool enough to be your friend. My playlist is too empty.
On the PlayStation 3, I actually hit the maximum number of friends that you could have on the PS3 because it was like 200, which I'm glad that the PS4, I could just add everybody because it's like several thousand. So
you're so popular. Jeff, he's so hot right now.
I know. So speaking of all that streaming, apparently the PlayStation TV, which has already been discontinued in the United States, is now also going to be discontinued in Japan by the end of 2016. So if you're looking for a PlayStation TV, you should get one right now. Have you ever seen one of these before?
Nope.
I have one, and I would totally use it all the live long day for streaming, but it has HDCP on it. That is essentially a PlayStation Vita. Except that you can hook it up to a TV, you can stream from your PS4 to it, you can play Vita games on it, and you can play with a controller.
And why are they discontinuing it?
Because nobody wants them. They're about $100, and nobody was buying them for any reason.
Except you, apparently.
Yep. Oh, I totally did. They were on sale at Best Buy for like $70, and I was like, hell yeah. And then I thought, hey, now I can play Vita games on the show, except that you can't turn off the HDCP encryption on that thing. Which
is what keeps you from being able to stream it, basically?
Yep. I'd have to get a stripper box, which is not.
Woo! All the dollar bills.
Yes, that's right. It's got a pole on the top.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to have an HDCP stripper until I plugged the wrong AC adapter into it and fried it. But
I hate it when you put things in the wrong. Anyway.
Yep. Anyway, the PlayStation TV is kind of being discontinued. So if you want one, get one now. Just PSA.
Now.
Also being discontinued, and I don't think that anybody cares at all about this, the PSP store is getting shut down. People can no longer buy PSP games on their Sony PlayStation Portable.
Was anybody even doing that?
I don't think so. Apparently, you can still download any games that you've previously purchased, and you can still buy stuff from inside of games, but you can no longer access a store on the PSP.
Cool. They did the thing. They tried the thing. It didn't work. Moving on.
This thing was such a fucking failure.
Moving right along.
The biggest failure. All right. 4 more quick stories here, and then we're out. 1. Harmonix wants you to crowdfund a PC version of Rock Band 4, which apparently has been selling horribly. Mad Catz just laid off 37 people.
Ouch.
There's a lot, like Rock Band 4 just didn't go.
Shaking my head slowly.
So, yeah. They're crowdfunding on Fig, the platform that Tim Schafer and the other guy whose name I can't pronounce set up, which is like only for specifically like accredited investors instead of just whoever, like Kickstarter. But hey, if you want Rock Band 4 on the PC, go check it out.
Meh.
2. Minecraft 1.9 is actually getting a combat update, which means that the different swords and axes and things now swing differently in combat.
They swing the other way now?
They do. They swing in both directions.
All right.
Also, there are shields. I kind of want to go back and play Minecraft.
Equal opportunity swinging.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
3, Street Fighter V is looking to have you document any rage quit people that you're seeing. So when you're playing online and you're beating somebody else and then they just drop out of the game so you don't get the win.
I hate that.
Yep.
Rude.
They're looking
just
to
take it. Just take
have
the loss.
Severe consequences
Beautiful.
for doing this in the future.
Yeah,
so.
I'm like, hey, if you're going to rage quit my game, you just can't play the game for a while. You got to go home and rethink about what you've done.
Yep. And finally, last but not least, I'm sure that this is probably the most heartwarming story this week.
Oh.
Jennifer, are you familiar with Star Wars Battlefront? The new one that came out?
What's Star Wars?
Are you familiar with the fact that Star Wars Battlefront had no single-player campaign and the internet just could not stand it? That they complained all the livelong day?
Yeah.
Apparently,
all the livelong day.
John Boyega, a.k.a. Finn from the new Star Wars movie, went on to Twitter and was like, at EA Star Wars, will fans get a full offline story mode? It's more of an enjoyable way to learn the controls. So he was actually online advocating for an offline story mode for Star Wars Battlefront.
I like him a lot.
Me too.
I really do.
And EA Star Wars came back and said, have you had a chance to try the missions? And he said, yes, but it definitely leaves you wanting to engage more with the narrative. Can I visit your base in the UK?
Woo!
I think that the
John,
best
clap for you.
ending to this story of all time would be if John Boyega was the person who forced EA to put a single-player story campaign into Star Wars Battlefront.
I heart you, John.
That would be wonderful.
The force is strong with you.
Yep. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to answer your questions, and I'll talk a little bit about some games that we've been playing. So stick around, and we'll be right back. And we're back. And yep, it's time for questions. Jennifer, you ready for the questions?
Always.
Okay. Our first question this week comes in from Jiu-Jitsu, who says, hi, Jeff. I've been listening to you since you started Spill and love what you do. As far as Q&A goes, you're doing a great job with it just by virtue of dedicating at least 5 to 10 minutes for a complete answer, which makes it that much more entertaining. I was thinking, and I know you said you didn't want to do it again, but if you were to do quick 5 to 10 minute reviews of games, maybe 2 or 3 per podcast, it could work instead of, or in tandem with the questions. Anyway, it's just a thought, but I'll listen to anything you end up doing.
Woo!
Jiu-Jitsu. So you know what? We're going to do that because we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions this week. We're just not getting as many questions. And so we're going to do a little impromptu game review.
Dun, dun, dun.
Used to do
you
that.
You asked for it. You get it.
A lot more. Mostly because I finished a game last week, which was Far Cry Primal.
Nice.
Now, I don't know. You have not played any of the Far Cry games, I would take it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Far Cry Primal.
Woo.
I assume that you know at least a little bit about Far Cry Primal.
Nah.
Not at all?
I really don't.
Okay. So, Far Cry Primal is the fifth Far Cry game, and Far Cry as a series has generally been an open-world first-person shooter where you drive around, capture towers, there's a bad guy, you're just defeating the bad guy. Far Cry Primal flips the script and takes place in 10,000 BC in the Stone Age. So rather than riding around in a Jeep shooting a machine gun, you're riding around on a saber-tooth tiger throwing spears at things.
I love this already.
Yes.
It's very Turok.
Yes. It's actually really interesting because none of the characters, they all speak like this made-up like language, so it's all very cavemanese. So the basic plot of the game is that you play as Takar, one of the Wenja, who are the tribe that you're going to kind of be focused on throughout the course of the game. And you run across this other character. I can't remember her name. They've all got weird caveman names, so it's kind of hard. It's like, I don't know why I can't remember. Like, Takar. Right, Takar doesn't stick in my mind the same way that, like, Frank does for whatever reason. But you run across her, and basically there are these two other tribes called the Udam and the I gotta look it up, Elysia or something like that, that have taken over the land of Oros, which is kind of the big continent or the big area that you're in. And they have like kind of destroyed the Wenja and driven them out to the winds. So like with most games kind of in total, your job is going to be to go kind of grab all of these villagers, set up a new village, and defend your village from these two other tribes. And eventually you're going to go out and you're going to destroy them.
I like it.
Yeah. So let's see if I can see what exactly. I got to find out what the name of these other guys. The Izila, is that what it is? So your tribe is basically regular.
You're the Reg.
And then you've got the other two tribes, and they are the Udam are these big like Neanderthal Cro-Magnon looking dudes with big sloping foreheads, and they're all cannibals, and they're all like poison cannibals. They're into poison. They're into eating other people. They like to eat poison people.
As you do.
Yeah. Izila. The other set are the Azila, and they are they're more like they've all got a lot of like Braveheart blue like paint on them, and they are into worshiping the sun, which I'm all about because of Dark Souls, and fire. So everything that they have will set you on fire. So you start the game, and over the course of the game, you're going to go out and you're going to grab a bunch of these specialists. You've got a guy that's a hunter. You've got a guy that's a witch doctor, kind of a shaman, right? You've got this lady that is a hunter, this other guy with one arm that's like your weird tech guy. And then they're going to help you invent crazy Cro-Magnon technology like grappling hook and arrow that shoots two, or bow that shoots two arrows, et cetera, et cetera. So
I like it.
Yeah. It's a big old open world. It doesn't look significantly different than the previous Far Cry, except for the fact that you've got like these giant redwoods and these big plants, and you've got these
Beautiful.
kind of prehistoric.
I dig this.
Yeah, things. It kind of falls down though a little bit in a couple of different ways. The first is that the last two Far Cry games have really done a super good job at investing you in the storyline. In Far Cry 3. You and your series and your bro group who have gone to this island get kidnapped by a bunch of like Pacific pirates, basically. And one of those guys is named Voss, and he is just a super dynamic character. He's like, if anybody's watching Better Call Saul right now, he's the guy that's like the what's his name, Nacho, I believe, in that series. Anyway. He was really fantastic because he would get your character and he would taunt him about like, you're just this stupid college kid, and like we actually live out here, and like I'm insane, and so that was great. In this Far Cry 4, there was a character called Pagan Min that ruled this whole because that was all in this kind of Nepalese territory. And at the very beginning of the game, he stops the bus that you're on, takes you off the bus, and he's like an insane dictator party bro. Like he stabs one of his sub-lieutenants and then takes a selfie with you with like the bloody pen that he's really just this crazy insane guy. And
as you do.
Yeah, he's a great foil for the series. This game more than anything else lacks a character that is as dynamic. And I think a lot of it is just due to the fact that because the concepts in here are so simplistic, because it's 10,000 BC, you just don't have a nuanced villain. You've got this one guy who wants to eat people, and you've got the lady that's the matriarch of the Sun Tribe who wants to burn people. And that's kind of their entire MO. You also have a little bit of a problem where in Far Cry 3, there was all this weird drug trippiness that happened. And in Far Cry 4, you had all of these flashbacks where you were going into, you had some other drug trippiness, but then you also had these things where you were going back into, God, I don't even remember what it was, but Shangri-La, and like is this character in this mythology. So you would be flashing back to this weird thing where you had all these crazy new powers and like a spirit tiger and stuff.
Sounds like a regular Wednesday to me.
Yeah. Spirit tigers and $2 wells.
That's totally my Wednesday.
Yeah. Here, less so. There are a couple of these kind of weird sequences, but they're so directly tied to the storyline, they don't really give you a lot of extra flavor. So that's probably one of the biggest problems with the game, is the fact that the storyline, if you're into story, is just not as nuanced as it is in previous Far Cry games.
Okay, I can see that.
Then you've got the problem that comes down to weapons, because in the previous games, you had sniper rifles and machine guns, right? Whereas here, you have 2 different kinds of clubs, 2 different kinds of spears, 3 different kinds of bows. And you've got 1 spear, 3 bows, 2 clubs. Little club, big club, spear, and then you've got regular arrow, long range sniper rifle arrow, and shoot 2 arrows at the same time. And I can say that while that stuff is great, by the end of the game it starts to become a little tiresome of just using the exact same things over and over again. It's kind of cool that you can use your clubs, but you can also throw them. You can throw your clubs or your spears so you can stun enemies. And then you have stuff like there's bee bombs and poison bombs and stuff that you can throw. And all that stuff is great. Also, I'll get into that in a minute, but basically it's fun. It just, there's not enough of a change to the way that you're doing anything, to the point where as the game goes on, because I think I played the game for 20 hours, and after about hour 10, I was just like, well, I've kind of seen everything that I'm going to see out of these different weapons.
Fair enough.
You can set them all on fire, but generally speaking, that would it's almost more of a hindrance than it is a positive aspect, because when you set a bear on fire, then the bear sets all of the grass around him on fire.
Don't poke the bear.
And everything is on fire, and now I'm on fire, and it's all just fire all the time.
Don't poke it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yep. All the hunting stuff is back with a vengeance, and in fact, unlike the previous games, every weapon that you use, every bow, every arrow, every club is made of stuff that you'll find inside of the world, so you're constantly having to do this kind of busy work of cutting down trees and getting rocks and stuff, and they kind of try to offset that by the larger that your village gets, the more you get these deliveries of stuff that your villagers are putting in a box that you can get access to.
Sure.
But I constantly also found myself running out of arrows and having to go find trees to cut down, which is a little crappy because it just interrupts the flow. When you're trying to go somewhere and kill a bunch of cavemen, right? You just want to get there and do it.
You're big with the hacky slashy today.
That's
Jeez.
right. That's right.
Ruling the world one bow and arrow at a time.
Yep. And in fact, that's actually a good point, because like just about every other Ubisoft game, there are probably about twice as many of these areas as there should be where you have to go and take over a village from a bunch of the other factions. You have to go in, you have to kill everybody. And the first few times...
Tuesday.
Yep. The first few times that I did it, it was like, I'm going to try to sneak in the middle of the night. I'm going to kill a bunch of people, and it's blah, blah. And then at the end of the game, it was like, all right, I've had enough of this. We're just going to run in on a saber-toothed tiger and hit people with a club until they die.
That's my Monday.
Yes. Which actually, the animal taming is probably the best part of the game, because unlike previous games, you are the beast master in this game.
That's right.
And you can tame yourselves, bears, wolves, d-holes, panthers,
D-holes?
I'm pretty sure they're called doles, and there's some kind of jackal offshoot.
He's playing a game with D-holes,
but
folks.
it's spelled D-hole.
This is what Jeff does in his free time.
After Brian Brushwood said D-hole the first time, I could not see that animal without being like, you D-holes, get away from here.
What in the world?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So once you get your animal pal, they are with you all the time, and you can, when you run up against some other guys, you can just say, go jungle cat and murder them, and it will go wow and kill them.
Love
and then later on, you can jump on top of them and you can ride them around.
Whoa.
And that's also really awesome. It added quite a bit to the actual game itself, and it helped to make up for the lack of weapons that were in there. Outside of that, I mean, as with a lot of games, and I think this is just a thing that I have a problem with, I probably would have preferred if the game was about 12 hours long instead of 20, because if you're going to be 20 hours long, you really have to start to do something different at about hour 10, or else I'm going to start to lose interest pretty quickly.
Gamer ADD.
Yes. So there's nothing else to do once you finish the game. I mean, you can keep going out and rescuing more Wenja and doing these little radiant subquests that come up where you just have to defend people from animal attacks or from the other factions attacking or things like that. But it's not so compelling that I feel like it's going to keep people playing for a long time. There's also really not any multiplayer that I can see. So at the end of the day, I think I'd probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I rescind that. I don't want to do scores anymore. It was totally worth playing if you can get it for $60 or less than $60. I don't know if it's exactly worth a full $60. I mean, I did get 20 hours worth of hacky slashy caveman out of that, so you'll have to make your own decision about whether that's
I don't mind the numbers.
worthwhile.
I like the numbers. I like to have a quantifiable, this is what you think about the game business.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just people start arguing with you about fractions.
It's subjective. It's totally subjective.
Yeah.
You think about it the way you think about it. Somebody else thinks about it the way they think about it, and we're all happy at the end of the day.
Okay.
People, lighten up.
That's the next shirt I want to sell for Rage Select. Just a message to the world, a message to the internet.
Mayhem is telling you, lighten up.
Just a shirt that says, "Hey, internet, lighten up, please."
No, it's not please. It's lighten up now.
Lighten up now. Well, I tell you what, we've got a few more questions, but before we get to them, do you have, I mean, you said you've been playing Borderlands.
I
you want to
have.
give people like a hot take on Borderlands, even though it's been out
hot take
for a while?
Well, it's been out for a while, and I'm only, I think, maybe 6 hours into it.
Okay.
I'm at the beginning still, basically. I'm quite enjoying it. I love the art style of the game. I run out of ammo a lot. I love Krieg. Krieg is amazing.
Who is that again?
Krieg is the psycho, the one with the chain, the hacksaw, buzzsaw thing, and the
yeah. Okay,
that's
all right.
Krieg.
Okay,
I love him. Sniper rifles are my jam.
Okay.
I will snipe you from 1,000 yards away and be completely fine with it. And I love that every time you kill somebody in a really dramatic fashion, he has something really snarky or crazy to say about it. I love it. I freaking love it. I love it.
Okay, let me ask you a serious question. Have you met Tiny Tina yet?
No, but I have met Tanis.
Okay.
Yes, please.
You come back and let me know.
She's crazy, and I like her.
When you met Tiny Tina, because a lot of people like her. I don't like her very much.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just kind of a question. So you're enjoying
I am very much enjoying Borderlands, and I love that you can play co-op. It's the first game on my PS2 that I have co-opted with anybody, so I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
It's good stuff. I very much enjoy it. As Craig Holiday from the Weirdlings would say, 9.6 out of 10.
Okay. Is that his score for everything?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It comes from Banjo-Kazooie. He's got much salt about Banjo-Kazooie, which he just finished a playthrough a couple weeks back, and all of the salt in the world.
Okay.
All of it. Yeah.
Like he didn't like it, or he did
He hates it. It's the worst game on the face of the planet. Hates it. Rage quit everything in the world, but he didn't quit. He kept going, and he beat it.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. So many tears were shed crying out of the hilarity of him hating that game so hard.
Okay.
We made fun of him so much.
Oh.
So good.
Oh, wait, I got one more.
What do you got?
Superhot. Super hot.
Okay.
Super hot.
I know nothing about this one.
Oh,
You're
Superhot.
picking games I don't know.
Superhot is so awesome. I love it. So Superhot is a game that started off its life as like a game jam, I believe. I'll show you the trailer here so you can kind of understand what's going on. So Superhot was a game that started out as a series of levels, and it is a game with a remarkable premise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We talked about this one.
Yes, where time only moves when you move. So when you're not moving, time doesn't move, and when you are moving, time does move. So basically, it's more of like a puzzle game than a first-person shooter, where you're basically trying to... now, it's funny because we're watching a trailer right now. What you see in this trailer is actually nothing like what the game looks like, because the game is... you do a thing and then you'll stop and look around because time is stopped to try to figure out what your next move should be. And it's actually really interesting because the way that they spawn enemies in that game is going to give you plenty of opportunities to get yourself murdered in a hurry as you miss that a guy spawned behind you and started shooting at you, right?
Yeah.
And you can dodge bullets, but it's very difficult. I'm going to make this one a little bit quicker, but the main thing that I think that people have been upset about with this game is that the actual gameplay time, the actual time that you're playing the game, as opposed to all this kind of meta-narrative stuff that's around it, is only about an hour or two. And it's $20, and I know a lot of people have taken issue with that. I thought that it was like perfectly functional. I thought it was really a real fun game that I had a super good time with for $20. And it also has an endless mode, and there's a bunch of like secret stuff that I feel like people are only just trying to figure out now. So what I would say is, if you go back and watch the dojos that we did for Superhot, we did 2 30 to 40 minute dojos. We were very close to the end of the game by that point. So if your focus when you buy a game is on how long that game is going to be, and if you're going to feel like any game that's under X amount of hours is going to be a ripoff, Superhot probably not your jam. Or wait for it to be on a Steam sale for $10, right, instead of $20. But I think it's a really creative thing. It's got an endless mode. It's got a replay theater. It's actually got quite a bit of stuff to do after you're done with the main game. So I feel like it's not... it's also one of those games where the actual act of playing Superhot is super fun because you can play every level in a very different way. Like, there's not just like one way through every level. You're really free to kind of just pick and choose what you want to do. Like, you try to go through every level and just punch people, right? Which takes 3 hits as opposed to 1 bullet. So, I feel like it's actually got quite a bit of value, and that, if you like what you see, you should probably check it out.
I like that. All
right. So let's fly through a few of these questions. Next question comes in from Cortovos, who says, this is another one about reviewing a game, but he says, "Dearest Masters of Rage, I heard you talk in the podcast about the new Fire Emblem. I'm very interested in this game, but they still haven't announced a European release date, so I was hoping for a few dojos about it, but since you can't record from a 3DS, boo, how about an old school review with Jason, who loves Fire Emblem? Keep raging on, Cortovos." So, Cortovos, I'm going to tell you right now that Jason has not had enough time to play the new Fire Emblem, and I'm about halfway through one of the 2 campaigns that they've put out. But I can say that if you're into Fire Emblem Fates seems like it's real good. So if you're looking for some nitty-gritty stuff, I would probably recommend like reading some reviews on Metacritic. But from what I've seen so far, I really liked Fire Emblem Awakening. Fire Emblem Fate seems to do a lot of the same things. There's 2 versions of the game, and I'm playing the easier one that's a lot more fun. It's added in a lot of interesting stuff, like your weapons don't degrade anymore, so you can just buy a weapon and then keep it. Because in the previous Fire Emblem games, every time you hit somebody, like a sword would come with like 20 hits, and every time you hit somebody, that number will go down. You have to buy a new one when you were done. Which is kind of just a pain in the ass, because you get to a point where I can do that. I've got plenty of money. I can keep doing this. It's just a chore to keep doing. I like the little base building aspect that you have. It's real fun. But I'm not going to belabor the point too much. I tell you what, Cortovos, if I ever finish it, I'll maybe go into a little bit more detail. But let's keep this going with our next one, which is actually a bit longer, and it's from Tristan, who says, "Hello again, Rage Lords and ladies. Over the last few podcasts, you seem to be lamenting the lack of movie tie-in games. Given their history, I understand why. Do you remember the Smurfs 2 videos, Jason and Jeff? Yes, I do. But part of me wants them to come back, mostly because there's going to be a theatrically released My Little Pony Friendship is Magic movie out in 2017. And I'm curious to see who Jeff would play a movie-based game of that property with.
Oh, God.
Smart money's on Matt Frank, but Grant does have a daughter, so he could be coerced into it. He would never be coerced into it, assuming he's still sane after Kingdom Hearts 3. Right, a question is needed. I have been unsubbed from World of Warcraft for 3 months now, but I feel the need to go back and resub just to delete my characters. However, a thought occurs, may I or should I play the new expansion on a tune and post my pseudo-review of Let's Play on Rage Select so you don't have to waste your time on that dying game? The last expansion, Wars of Draenor, left a really bad taste in my mouth to the point where I'm equally uninterested to see the Warcraft movie as I am to see Superman, Batfleck, and Wonder Woman fight the Teenage Mutant CG Doomsday in Dawn of Justice.
Oh, that's funny.
However, this could be a good thing, as it couldn't be any more of a disappointment, even though they're pandering harder than I've ever seen them do before. Please remember to use the enter button to break up your letters, fellow Ragies. Tristan. So the question is, let's see, should I play the new expansion and post a pseudo review on Rage Select so you don't have to waste your time on an old dying game? If you like. I mean, I have tried to play World of Warcraft. Have you ever?
I refuse.
Yep. Okay.
I like having a soul. I mean, as much as a ginger can have. I'd like to keep my soul.
Okay.
So no, I will in no way be playing that game ever.
Okay. I tried a while back, and it just didn't. I
watched The Guild.
Yeah. Okay.
That's as close to that game as I ever need to be.
I think that as time goes on, the whole, we've been watching the death of MMOs for so long that I just don't know that it really has an appeal to people anymore. Like, I feel like there was a time and a place for that particular style of game, and that is now out of style for everyone except for a niche audience. I mean, it used to be that everybody was playing World of Warcraft or EverQuest or something in their spare time. Like, I had non-gamer friends who were playing WoW, but I don't know. It's just so much of an investment as far as time goes for me that I would much rather just play other games.
Absolutely.
And get
I know
full potpourri.
that they're trying to bring it back with, what is it? Is it Final Fantasy 15, the MMO one, or is that 14? It's 15.
15.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know that
14.
It is 14. Okay,
14,
I thought it was 14. 15 is the one that's about to come out.
Yes.
14 is the MMO.
Yes.
I will say that I have heard very good things about Final Fantasy 14 and about how that's kind of changing that dynamic back to maybe a healthier dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I have agreed that if somebody on my stream throws that my way, I will give it a try. I will play it. So I'm not going to throw that one completely out the window, but I will never play WoW.
Okay.
It's not happening.
As somebody who actually played probably 25 to 30 hours of Final Fantasy 14, I can tell you it's all right. Yeah. It's pretty decent. There's a lot of, I mean, the main problem that you have with MMOs is just, I feel like they haven't evolved well, right? That there's still, like, even when you play something like WoW, there's still quite a bit of it that is get the quest, go over here, kill 5 of these things, come back, turn it in, get experience points.
Sure.
And that gameplay loop, as time has gone on, and we've just seen more and more sophistication and more refinement of the way that video games do their systems, that has become a wholly unsatisfying gameplay loop to have, because it's too repetitive. It's too, like, you know exactly what you're going to be doing, and it's just like, okay. Like, I got to a point in WoW when I was playing it where I wasn't even reading the story quest text anymore. It was just like, how many of what do you need me to kill? Fine, right. I'll go do that and then come back. So I feel
think that the battle arena games are very much taking like that. The people that were very much into MMOs, I feel, are just moving over to the battle arena.
Yeah, because I mean, I never got into it, but I feel like one of the best aspects of MMOs was the grouping, right?
Right.
So you put up together the correct group, and then you whoop the game's ass. And that, MOBAs do that way better because they require such a tighter level of team play that why would you ever bother? So
yeah, I had people in my Dungeons and Dragons group back in high school that we would play every Saturday night. Every Saturday night in high school, my junior and senior years, we would play. We would meet at like 6 o'clock in the evening. We'd have dinner or bring snacks or whatever. And we'd play till like 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. On holidays, we'd play like long ass sessions that would last the whole day. I had people that were so obsessed with Warcraft, because that was like in 2003, 2004, which was right in the height of when it was really, really popular.
Yeah.
I had people that wouldn't even put Warcraft down long enough to play D&D. So we had a group of like 10 people playing D&D, and this guy would be on his computer just playing Warcraft.
What?
While you're playing D&D.
What DM was allowing this to happen? You got to put down WoW for 10 minutes or for an hour and a half.
I know.
Like, come on.
And I mean, like, it wasn't constant, but it was enough that I was just like, come on. Just really? So it put such a bad taste in my mouth. It's like Captain America. I had somebody who was just so up Captain America's butt when I was growing up that I just can't with him. And that's a whole other,
I don't even want to get into that.
That's a whole other box of worms.
Dude, I love Captain America.
Bad feelings on the World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I like my soul. Shall we not?
So I guess our answer, Tristan, is, dude, fuck that. Log into the website and delete your characters there. No.
Do it.
Don't play it. Don't bother.
Do it. Don't. If it's dying, it's dying. Play something new. Play something on PS4. I don't know. Do it.
All right, the next question comes in from Russ, who says, hey, Jeff and Jennifer, fun little question this time. Say you were survivors in a zombie apocalypse, and you can either be wandering alone or together. What would be your weapon of choice for close range and long range, and what would you be known as by other wanderers of the wasteland? What's your creative apocalypse persona? Thanks for all the great content, loyal Aussie listener.
I love that.
Russ.
That's easy for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already got it. It's Mayhem's Muse.
Right.
Like, my roller derby name, it just segues nicely into post-apocalyptic world.
I would be known as Jeff.
It's fierce.
I'd be known as.
It's so original. I love it.
Is that guy that just says "oh shit" all the time? He's just
pretty
like,
much.
"Oh shit, oh shit."
You're the first one to die. Really.
Oh shit,
yeah.
oh shit. Okay, so weapon of choice for close range and long range.
Long range, obviously the bow and arrow.
Do you think
you
so?
can't go wrong with it. It's quiet.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how to shoot a bow and arrow?
I do.
You talk about going to the Renaissance Fair. I remember.
Do. Yeah.
We did that, and like every single dude in our group is terrible at shooting bow and arrow. It's
no.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah, I know the basics of it. And actually, in a photo shoot that I did, I want to say 3 months ago, there's a photographer I work with who has horses, and we did a steampunk photo shoot on horseback.
Okay.
She's a member of the Mounted Archery Society.
Wow.
And they invited me to come out. So I am soon going to be learning mounted archery.
Well, damn right.
Which is kind of awesome.
Hey, man, it worked for the Mongols. That's all I can say.
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying, don't mess with Mayhem.
Yep. Step people. No, long range. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of depends. I mean, the problem here, Russ, is that we have to talk about what zombie apocalypse we're talking about. Like OG Night of the Living Dead, or like fast zombies.
True.
We're talking World War Z 6-second conversion zombies, or like, you get bit and then when you die zombies. Is it Walking Dead rules where anybody who dies turns into a zombie?
Just throw rocks.
Yeah.
Just throw a rock.
There's a lot of rocks.
You'll always have rocks or blunt force objects that you can just pummel people with.
I'm going to go with shovel because I feel like...
close range or long range? You're going to throw that long range?
I'm going to throw the shovel. I'm going to just huck it with one arm.
Lawn dart style.
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
Like it.
No, I've always had this idea that no movie has ever managed to bear out, that like if you just like got a backhoe and you built a giant pit and then you just stood on the other side of the pit and went, hey, zombies, and then they fell in and then you just gasoline and then burn.
That's
and then
beautiful.
And then the next one's coming, you're like, hey, zombies, and then you just do that until there are no more zombies left in the world. Problem solved.
High five me for that.
Bada boom. You're done. That's one of my many zombie apocalypse plans that I have.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one of those big like dog catcher loops at the end of a really long pole that we can like grab them and you can just move them back and forth or whatever.
That's a thing. And then they can never get closer to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
It's the zombie equivalent of putting your hand on a child's head and then they're just swiping their hands at you.
Can't get to you.
I don't know. Anything with I'm not really picky, man. Anything that has a blade on it for close range and anything that takes a bullet for long range, like I think that's fine. Unless they're sound zombies, in which case, yeah, probably bow and arrow, crossbow, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'll take my close range weapon from the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
Okay.
Give me that freaking like ice pick shit.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used the crap out of that. That was the first weapon that I maxed out in that game.
But don't you feel that would be like you would have a problem with it getting stuck inside of zombies' heads?
No.
Like when you hit them with it, that since it's got a...
Well, that's what the skates are for.
Oh, wait, you didn't mention the skates at all.
Well, it's the roller derby name. So you wear the skates.
Right.
I have an actor friend of mine who shot, it was either a trailer or a short film about a zombie apocalypse, and the fighting team were roller derby girls.
Nice.
Because roller skates, you go real fast, you're real tough, and then you just beat the crap out of people with like bats and shit.
Now you just get like a piece of a piece of fishing wire and then just run down the street.
Just go. Just done.
Yep.
Off with their heads.
Yep.
Yeah. So you put a skate in the chest and then you use that as a lever to like get that shit right back out.
Okay.
And then you're skating on to glory.
Okay. Heelys for everybody in the zombie apocalypse. Like some off-road.
That kind of skate. But yeah, okay.
No? Okay. Off-road.
Skates.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take...
Yeah, I'll take...
That's a great question.
I'll take whatever, man. I feel like
I'm expecting my bow and arrow in the mail
in 3 to 6 weeks.
Send them care of Mayhem's Muse, Austin, Texas, Rage Select Studio.
All right, this next one comes in from Niall, who says, Dear Jeff the Magnificent and marvelous co-host Jennifer, are there games that you enjoy, please note, enjoy, not just play, purely due to the storyline or IP?
Ooh.
I've recently been playing a lot of the alpha version of Warhammer 40K Eternal Crusade.
I almost mentioned Warhammer.
A fairly generic third-person shooter. However, because there are Space Marines in it, I'm willing to look past a lot of its flaws. Same applies for Lord of the Rings Online. Awful, grindy, and buggy game, but you get to walk around a fully 3D Middle-earth. Deadpool, funny but repetitive gameplay. In your opinion, how much can you forgive gameplay in exchange for story or characters you love? Jeff, if Dark Souls 3 implements tank controls and the camera is a little laggy, yet the story is everything that you hope it could be, would you still be able to rate it as Game of the Year? Would all of your frustrations be forgotten as fat, manly tears run down your hirsute cheeks as the screen fades to black and the credits roll? Thanks for your brain time, long-time listener and fairly recent Patreon subscriber. Thank you very much. From across the wide sea in the land of tea and crumpets. Niall.
Can we hang out? I want tea and crumpets in my life every day. I always drink tea when I game.
Is that, so you just need the crumpets, right?
I do. Let's be friends.
There's got to be one place in Austin that sells crumpets, right?
There is. I don't know about crumpets, but there are scones. And you're going to go to the steeping room.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing. They have scone sets, tea and scone sets. It's great.
Okay. So let's see. There's a couple of different questions in here.
Start with the first one first.
Okay. Are there any games that you enjoy due to the storyline or IP? And I think that there's a kind of a subtext here that the gameplay maybe is secondary, right? That
sure.
You enjoy it primarily because...
his thing is he wants to know about storyline. What storyline grips you the most, period?
Okay. Well...
What you got?
Wait, where is that?
Well, he says, what games that you enjoy purely due to the storyline?
Oh, purely due to the storyline.
Purely storyline.
Okay. Wow, that's an interesting question.
Do you need to think about it? Because I have my answer.
Go for it.
Ready to
go. You go.
Final Fantasy VII, baby.
Okay.
Go big or go home. I've always said this: if I can only ever play one game for the rest of my life and be happy with it, and still be a gamer and love it, Final Fantasy VII by far. So much fan fiction and storylines and amazing characters and the beautiful music. That game just.
So even
everything.
I'm sure that as a fan of that game, you are also a fan of the mechanics and the combat and stuff like that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, but let's say that,
but just storyline. Like if I had to read it in a book, I'd read it all the time. I read so much fan fiction off of that storyline just because I love those characters.
Yeah, I think that the same probably goes for me and Demon Souls / Bloodborne or Dark Souls / Bloodborne. I mean, I think last week I actually just sat down and played all of Bloodborne from start to finish again, which was like another 20 hours because I wanted to try out one weapon with a cosplay character. I want to make a character that looked like a character in the game.
Awesome.
Get their armor, get their weapon, and make them to help out my friends online. But yeah, as far as the back half of this question, if Dark Souls 3 controls like garbage, I mean, I love the combat and the RPG mechanics of Dark Souls. But the story to me is the most compelling thing of that game. In fact, every single game that I really, really like comes down to storyline. Like,
absolutely,
I'm willing to overlook a hell of a lot of bad gameplay if you've got a compelling storyline.
Yep.
As long as your game isn't just straight up broken. In fact, the games that I come back to more and more often are games that have a rich story that I want to experience a second time. It's one of the reasons that I really like Metal Gear is because I really like the stories in Metal Gear as opposed to just the combat or action system. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The same for Final Fantasy VII. The remake is coming out, and a lot of people it's the big hot button topic right now. Is it going to be great? Is it going to suck? Is it going to ruin the franchise, as we were saying earlier?
Yeah.
I'm about it. It's got Nobu Uematsu's music. It's got those same beautiful characters. It's got that great storyline to it. And it's just more of that world that I've been loving since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's been 20 years, and I still freaking adore that game. I'm playing it right now.
Well, actually, it's funny because you and I have talked about this before, but one thing that actually ties into this particular question is that I have never played all the way through Final Fantasy VIII because the story hooks don't hit me hard enough. And I find the RPG systems. How far
did you get into it? Because the beginning, sure, it takes a while, but once they drop the story bomb on you, it's pretty good.
I don't think I've gotten all the way to said story bomb. I mean, I've gotten to the academy and maybe dancing, going to prom thing or whatever.
Sorry, pardon me. I had a little bit of Renoa in my face.
It's just, the character that you're cosplaying as, the
Sorceress Adia. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever really gotten to her. Like, I remember a long time ago, maybe playing to a point where
that's the whole story kernel nugget is her back shit.
You see her. Is the first time that you see her, there's like you're gonna assassinate her or something.
Yeah.
I think I got to like that part, but here's the thing: this is actually a strike against this particular question, and my answer for it is that I hate the combat system in Final Fantasy VIII. I hate having to pull the magic.
It's very tedious. It's very tedious.
And the way that the progression that your character has, because the enemies scale, like, you never have that feeling of just like, I am the world's greatest badass, like you do in some of the other games.
It's always right there.
Yeah. And so that really turned me off to that game. The same happened in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, where I felt like I couldn't make progress. And so I couldn't really get into the storyline of that as much, but so
we should play it together sometime because I'm doing a playthrough of it on my stream right now. I haven't played it in a few weeks, but that game, once you get like 3/4 of the way through disc 1, because it's another 3 discer, or is it 4 discs? I think it's 4 discs. But it's once you get to the introduction of the Sorceress Adia, and then you finally start to figure out what's going on with her. That's like everything else is just like beginner filler intro crap that you could just totally forget.
Well, it makes sense too, because when I think about Final Fantasy VII, I think about how long it takes.
The Midgar shit takes forever. And then once you get into the world, it's like, oh, by the way, there's all this underlying storyline. And it really starts. It's that same shit. Like that she's possessed by this crazy person, and there's all of this backstory, and she's really somebody completely different.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. So good.
And it's funny because, I mean, I know that I really like Persona 4, but I'm going to be
on my list.
I'm going to be the first person here to tell you Persona 4 takes for fucking ever to get to the point. Like it is.
Does it?
It really depends on how much of a tolerance you have for Japanese stuff, where when you start the game, it's like, well, I'm just spending the summer with my uncle and going to school out in the countryside.
It's just pretty.
What's going on here? It takes a while. Even after you start going into the TV with a golf club to punch demons in the face, it takes like 2 or 3 characters in to really start to understand. In fact, no, fuck that. You got to play like 80% of the game before you actually understand what's going on.
That's a lot of it.
And it's compelling before then because it becomes more of just like a friendship / dating / going to high school simulator that you can actually get invested in. But what's actually going on behind the scenes is very mysterious, almost all the way up until the end of the game. So I understand that it takes a long time, but. Again,
it's meaty, and getting to it is a bit much.
It's for all games. I think that what really matters to me, and it's probably one of the things that I think that people have a lot of problems with a lot of Square games and a lot of Japanese games in general, is I feel like you have to have a good opening hook that's going to continue to keep you interested through that big opening sequence.
Sure.
And too many of those games, like I know that this week the Twilight Princess HD thing is coming out.
Oh yeah.
I fucking hate it when Zelda games start by having you do chores in a village for 2 hours, because it's like, what in the fuck? Stop. I don't care about herding goat cows. I want to go cut Ganon's face off with the Master Sword. That's what I care about. So
it's true. Priorities.
All right. We got one more question, and this is from B-Hammer 100. And it says, hello, Masters of the Dong. B-Hammer 100 here, asking you a question about one of the biggest movies to come out this year, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Everybody's calling it that.
It's because I call it that. Because why would you call your movie Dawn of Justice and not expect people to call it that? BVS is less than a month away, so it is a great time to tell us your predictions for the movie. What do you want to see in the movie? Do you think it will be good? Did you like Man of Steel? Are you excited for Batfleck and Jesse Eisenberg going up against Superman? And then I'm not going to read your PS because it's about me dating, and that's just dramatically not helpful for anybody. Thanks very much, bhammer100. So let's talk about Batman versus Superman, and let's take these one at a time.
Okay.
What do you want to see? Well, first of all, we haven't established. Are you interested in Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice?
That's a very layered question.
Okay.
For me, there are elements about it that very much excite me, and then there are elements of it that I'm very much in trepidation about.
Okay. Well, give us a quick rundown. So what are the interesting things? What are you interested in?
I'm gonna take the like unpopular choice here and say that I am interested to see what Ben Affleck does with it.
Okay.
I like that they're making the parallel to 60s Batman.
Okay.
That dynamic, the older Batman who's maybe a little wiser. And,
okay.
You know, rather than the young, youthful.
I thought you meant like walking on the wall, but they turn the camera.
Right. And the underwear on the outside.
Celebrity comes out and Carrot Top comes out.
Right.
He's
exactly.
Like, okay.
No. So the older, wiser Batman, maybe a little wittier, drier, certainly maybe more jaded. I don't know. So we'll see about that. I'm interested.
Christopher Nolan Batman was
I don't like
pretty
Superman.
jaded.
Like Superman, whatever.
We are going to have a talk about this
That's
Captain
fine.
America Superman thing at some point.
We can have a talk. I'm not about it.
No.
Never been. I've seen the movie. I don't care.
Okay.
I really just.
Yeah. No, I got you.
So there's that.
Okay.
Wonder Woman, on the other hand, one of my favorite characters of anything ever.
Okay.
And is never done justice to in like real life thing. Like I'm really nervous about what they're gonna do with her.
Okay.
She's an Amazon, for crying out loud. She's supposed to be huge. She's never like somebody's sidekick. She's very much the boss. And I'm very much hoping that despite things that they do well by her.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see here then. Let's go back to the question here. What do you want to see in the movie? Okay. So that's a good question. Is there anything that you can think of that you
I want to see
Wonder
Woman being taller than the dudes because she's supposed to be taller than them.
Okay. So do you think? Well, so that's I know that's a thing that a lot of people brought up when they cast Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Like I personally think. I mean, Tom Cruise is a short man, and yet.
Yeah.
Go watch Jack Reacher and watch the way that they make him look like he is, a physically imposing presence as opposed to a foot shorter than all those
shooting
guys.
Up. That's always a thing,
right?
But in the first trailer that I saw, they have her and Ben Affleck right next to each other, and she's obviously like way shorter.
Right.
Way shorter. So I mean that's a thing, but I mean physicality is what it is. Whatever. I very much hope that they make her the strong, independent boss that she is.
Right.
And don't make any attempt to make her somebody's like wimpy love interest because I'll have to get mad and rage, throw something at the screen and leave and vow never to watch a DC anything ever again.
Okay. I mean, actually, it's funny because I was thinking how much I'd like to see. I don't remember what her name is. The actress that plays Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones. Like she is
I love her.
Tall, physically imposing, kind of presence. But as far as what I want to see out of the movie, it's funny because to skip over to another one of the questions, I didn't really like Man of Steel all that much, and I am a big old Superman fan, but I don't like it when they feel the need to dark up Superman because I feel like Superman is a very like hopeful character. And they put all of this like dark real world angstiness on him that was just kind of like, I don't like it. I like it less than I like which I'm sure is the thing that you don't like, the kind of corn-fed, gee whiz, truth, justice, and the American way, I'm an apple pie American farm boy Superman. I think it's interesting to have a character that can afford to be that naive because he is literally invincible. So it's kind of I think it's an interesting thing that if you just have good writers, there's good stories to tell about this, because the question of Superman, in my mind, is not about him getting beaten up. It's about assaults on his morality and how he takes that. That it's not about because, oh no, he's going to get beaten up by General Zod, and you go, well, probably not. I mean, the Man of Steel was probably not going to end with General Zod winning that fight and then enslaving humanity. So
sadly,
yeah. But what I do really, really like about the trailers for Dawn of Justice is that I like the idea of Batman, of the conflict between Batman and Superman being a direct result of Superman's recklessness in fighting Zod at the end of Man of Steel and pretty much destroying Metropolis.
Right. I do like that dynamic.
Yeah, actual consequences of having somebody like Lex Luthor who can, unlike the comics where he's just like, he's an alien, I don't trust him. He's like, he destroyed a whole city. Like, that was because he was punching this guy through buildings. Like, they could have gone to space to fight, or he could have tried a little bit harder to not punch this guy through a building. I really like that part in the trailer where you see Ben Affleck in Metropolis during this fight, watching buildings blow up and stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope that they can get a little bit more actual adult in their morality of having, Superman and Batman are obviously going to fight at some point. I hope there's a moment where Superman is obviously able to actually beat Batman in a fight. That's just, Batman fanboyism aside. He's a fucking invincible super god, right?
Right.
Of having Batman throw Metropolis in his face and force him to actually come to terms with the fact that your actions resulted in all of this destruction.
Just simmer down.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would like that. In fact, it would probably make me like Man of Steel more because there's an actual consequence to the actions.
Absolutely.
Outside of making out with Lois Lane on top of the rubble that used to be an American city.
Yeah, about that. And I want Wonder Woman to put them all in their places.
Yep.
Is what I want to happen.
Yep.
Very much. It better happen. Gal Gadot, I believe in you.
I wonder if she'll be, because there's backstory of being, because there was one Wonder Woman that was actually, she's made of clay by the queen of Amazon Island. I wonder if she's going to be playing the same kind of emissary to the world of men to have peace between the Amazons, and
I hope so.
It really opens up a
whole world.
Yeah, in those movies so far, it's yes, we have Superman, but that's pretty much it. And now we've got Superman and a crazy guy that dresses like a bat, and that's it. Now we have evidence that there's a whole island full of mystical ass-kicking ladies that have this weird invisible jet technology that we obviously want. So
please,
yeah.
And by the way, give me a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
Please, world, please, put it out there.
Sure.
Internet, please.
Just for the record, I have no problem with Ben Affleck as Batman. I think Ben Affleck could make a fine
All right. So
Batman.
At least we agree on something.
Yeah. Do whatever.
Let him do it. He can do it.
Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I
like what he's done with other films, so I'm a fan of it. I'm not going to judge it until I see it.
That's a thing. I'm a little squeamish about the kind of goofiness in the trailer, but on the other hand, in this movie full of stoic superheroes, I feel like the last thing I want is yet another stoic character in Lex Luthor about them all trying to out-stoic each other, as opposed to having this kind of crazy, almost like a Joker stand-in, right? With the Lex Luthor.
It's like Jared Leto is Joker in Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
It's people are just I don't know. And I'm like, Jared Leto's amazing and always does really great character acting, so I'm about it.
I will say at the end of the day that the last Suicide Squad trailer was infinitely more interesting to me than most of the Batman Superman trailers.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be. I'm really interested to see what they do with that. I am such a huge. I don't say this often, but I'm a huge Jared Leto fangirl. Mm-hmm. His music is amazing. He's a great actor. I love the way that he commits to his characters and takes on the persona of those characters. And Joker is one of those characters that just sucks all of the actors in who take that on. And he, do you know what was going on behind the scenes when they were filming those movies?
No.
That movie?
Mm-mm.
So he was so in character that he, was sending, dead rats in boxes to the other stars. And,
really?
Bullets and, oh, yeah. He just really got into it. And they have all gone out and, gotten tattoos together. And
wow.
Yeah, the actors that are in this movie are all insane, and I love it.
Cool.
And I think it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, me too.
That wasn't even asked about, but I'm talking about it because it has the feelings.
Okay. I was actually just looking at Jared Leto's filmography. because whenever his name comes up, all I can remember him as is Fight Club.
Oh, okay.
As the pretty guy in Fight Club.
Sure, yeah.
And then I forgot that he was in
Alexander, man.
Lord of War, which I thought was really underrated movie that I like to watch every so often. Just another Nicolas Cage going nuts.
I loved him in Alexander. It was amazing. He was also in both Girl Interrupted and American Psycho.
Yeah, I forgot about him in American Psycho.
Man.
Yeah,
he dies. Tragic. He's always the guy that dies.
Yeah, no, he's the one from the Huey Lewis scene.
Yes.
Well,
the guy with the great business cards.
That's right. Well, you know what? That's all the questions that we have. And that's all the podcasts that we have. Jennifer, where can people find you on the internet?
Everywhere. I'm with you right now.
Okay.
So I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/mayhems_muse.
Mm-hmm.
There you can find links to all of my other social media. I am Mayhem's Muse on Facebook, Mayhems_muse on Twitter, on Instagram, Mayhem's Muse. I have Patreon as well. Patreon.com/mayhemsmuse. I do Twitch streaming. I do cosplay, acting, modeling, writing, a little of all things
just
creative and nerdy. I never sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also, this is a new thing. I'm now the convention coordinator for Tacticon, which is one of the oldest and largest gaming conventions in Colorado. That is Labor Day weekend, September 1st through 4th. It's a 4-day convention. We're going to be streaming and cosplay contesting and Dungeons and Dragons-ing and tabletop board gaming and RPGing. All of the games are going to be in Colorado September 1st through 4th. It's good stuff. So
Excellent. All right.
Like me, share all the things, hang out, say hi.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And if you have questions, we didn't have that many this week, but if you have them, send them in to mail@rageslite.com and we'll read them on the next podcast. And I think that that's it. So good night, everybody. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, guys. Bye.